Welcome back. This time we are going to talk a little bit about waste in the Pentagon and also about incompetence in the Pentagon. Nowadays, favored by the Democrats' incomprehensible silence on the issue, Dodge has waved the flag of waste and fraud to redefine government while leaving the waste intact. Not even education and research and development have uh, been spared, despite that they are key for to keep and improve future next decade's productivity. Not surprisingly, and doing something Orban also did in Hungary, Trump has also used the opportunity to tame professional government employees when not using tricks like Schedule F to push the more technical uh, bureaucrats who are not sympathetic enough and replace them with loyalists. Something at least Orban took advantage of the IMF intervention in Hungary before 2010. In the case of the United States, it has been just because Trump decided so because the Democrats were too busy playing dead, taking for granted that the fall of Trump would automatically benefit them. Let's hope they are not wrong. Despite the having only 2% of voters who regret their vote for Trump, let's hope they are not wrong. It's in this environment of Dutch national struggle, at least a PR struggle against waste, that we have learned that the Pentagon is going to spend 300 million per plane in the new F-47. This could not be ironic had the Pentagon not have other issues that needs to be solved more urgently and whose solution could be achieved much more cheaply, like the case of electronic war. Pretty much since the Ukraine war started, the Russians have kept the edge on jamming on electronic war. Yet we don't know if this issue much more important in terms of defense at the light of with what he has learned in the Ukraine war that has supposedly been learned by the Pentagon has been properly addressed. So uh, what is the Pentagon planning to do to keep up with the Russians on this issue? We don't know. But also we have learned that there are plans, or at least Elon Musk is making the case for a golden dome. A golden dome that make sense in a smaller country like Israel, but it's insanity in the case of a country so big as the United States. A new version of Reagan's Star Wars, which due to its monumental cost was abandoned by Reagan himself, but and yet is taken seriously under consideration by Donald Trump. So these are the priorities the Pentagon has right now. And this not mentioning the effects we may find on the road of the people who have fired by Dodge, because remember that as at least Dodge ended up acknowledging in other agencies of government, there is some intelligence that is accumulated in the people who with years of experience whose appointment is not due to political appointments, that will have to be remade in case they find on the road that oops, they made a mistake. Remember, they had a very they had it very hard trying to rehire all the people who were in charge of nuclear weapons after they fired them. So let's hope we don't have an additional surprise on the road because of that. The question worth asking here is, what is the Democrats' counterpoint? And the answer so far is that they keep playing dead. Only 2% of Trump voters regret their vote. Only 39 or 38% believe Democrats could do the right thing on the economy. And Democrats keep playing dead. In the belief that in the end, voters are going to favor them because they hate Trump. In other words, they believe that what didn't work in 2024, where the message was Trump is not cool, is going to play well in 2028. That people will not have the alternative of just going home and not voting. Remember that partisanship and enthusiasm is much bigger among Republicans, and that they are going to all eagerly go to vote Democrat just because in 2028 they are going to repeat their failed message from 2024, which is Trump is not cool. So this is extremely responsible, and as you know, I don't trust the current DNC to imprint the change that is urgently needed. The civil society must push them in the right direction, and that work still needs to be done, because the civil society, those who are more politically involved, are trying to convince candidates to do the right thing, and if the Democratic Party only have 27 or 29% of approval, is because precisely those Democratic players, politicians, they are trying to whom they are trying to appeal, didn't do their job because it was safer to keep their mouth shut. So you may say, what about Bernie's or fight oligarchy? Well, I will leave that for another video, but my only problem, I can tell you right now, is that they are still not. It's good that they are embracing economic populism, but it's extremely worrisome that they are still resisting to draw a clear line with the woke left. Remember that in 2020, Bernie Sanders, with much more name recognition, but surrendered to the woke left, did much worse than in 2016, when his message was more properly a message of economic populism. The matter is that you could not assume that the voters are stupid, or that they have extremely short memories. You have to make clear, if you are actually drawing a line with the woke left, that you are actually drawing that line with the woke left. And having said that, I leave you with our newscast.
Good evening. This is Brian Thomas Simons, and these are the main headlines of this hour. Among other news,
New 166 executive decisions were released in the Oval Office during the weekend. Among them, 1. The Fish and Wildlife Service, FWS, will immediately proceed to change its mission to extinguishing endangered species. As part of this process, DOGE will set the number of species this agency will eliminate every week and coordinate with the on the funding to make this goal possible. 2. DOGE will report to Secretary Little Marco weekly. If DOGE considers necessary, its progress on the restructuring of the State Department. As DOGE's senior advisor, Elon Musk already has his digital signature. There is no reason to distract Secretary Little Marco from his important mission in the Maldives, declared President Trump. Asked about the executive decision, Secretary Rubio requested once more an executive decision forbidding calling him Secretary Little Marco in official business. At the same time, he expressed his gratitude to President Trump for the new medals he will receive via UPS in the Maldives. 3. It will be forbidden for any court, including the Supreme Court, to disagree with any executive decision issued by the president to make America great again. As part of this decision, all judges will be part of Schedule F in order to facilitate their expedited removal in cases of non-compliance with this decision. Approached by reporters, Democratic Senate Minority Leader Schumer declared that, as a result of the "play dead" strategy, which replaced the "confusion strategy," though it's pretty much the same, he will lead Democrats into supporting this executive decision tacitly so at some time in the future, when they recover their voice, they can convince the American people that they were their best advocates all the time without them noticing the difference. B. New instances of meltdown at the Pentagon are uncovered as new signal scandal shakes the Defense Department. Among other signs of dysfunction in the Defense Department, new revelations show: 1. Misuse of the project to extract intelligence through drunkenness in the DIA, a project personally led by Secretary Hegseth, to engage in drinking parties with no clear intelligence goals. In his defense, Secretary Hegseth claimed that it was very difficult to remember the goals once the session started. 2. Hiring dwarves to spread false rumors about Peter Dinklage after the bad blood his advocacy generated in the dwarf community, and then using them in dwarf tossing competitions during intelligence through drunkenness competitions. 3. Having redacted his resume to hide that he had been dishonorably discharged from the Army due to drunkenness. C. Secretary Hegseth offered job as spokesman for Signal if he loses his job as Defense Secretary. Approached by reporters about a possible job at Signal in case he had to resign his position as Defense Secretary, Hegseth, showing great confidence, declared, "It worked for Kamala Harris as spokeswoman for Total Wine and More, so I can work for me too. Actually, I don't see any conflict of interest if I were called to do both jobs simultaneously. Yet, I don't lose hope that Jack Daniels will also make me a similar offer. If so, I swear to God that I can make the three of them simultaneously and show outstanding performance since motivation is key for performance. I learned that in the Army," declared Secretary Hegseth. D. As even the inclusion of drag queen scenes cut from the theatrical presentation failed to save Rachel Zegler's Snow White in Disney+, it had to be replaced by the 1937 animated movie and by Snow White inclusive with Terry Crews. Approached by reporters, CEO Bob Iger declared that, "Fortunately, we have the Haldol deal with Essential Pharma, which will help us break even with Rachel Zegler's Snow White, so the remake was not all we expected, but at least the shareholders will not be harmed." E. Secretary Rubio called back to Ukraine to look helpless in a photo op. Secretary Rubio returned to the Maldives right afterwards. In a brief appearance in Kyiv, Secretary Rubio, clearly emotional, declared that, "I almost feel I don't deserve my medals. The 6 of them that President Trump has granted me after my missions in Tonga and the Maldives and the ones he is sending me via UPS to the Maldives while Elon Musk restructures my department." When reporters asked him about the progress of the ceasefire in Ukraine, the state secretary was clear, "I don't know. President Trump didn't tell me." FDNC Chair Ken Martin makes a call to the nation to have their priorities clear and support Rachel Zegler's Snow White on Disney+. The Democratic leader urged all Americans not subscribed yet to Disney Plus to do so. Frustrated with reporters who harassed him with questions about when Democrats were going to present an alternative to Trump's redefinition of government and the place of the United States in the world, Chair Martin responded, "Enough of focusing on boring stuff. Snow White is sinking in Disney Plus rankings, and you keep asking me about democracy, the economy, Ukraine, China. Enough. Let's focus on the mission we have ahead of us, taking Snow White to the first spot. We failed when the movie was in theaters. There is no excuse now." And for those of you who still want to talk about boring issues, go to Leader Schumer, who has already presented clearly our "play dead" strategy for the American people to go back to us when they are more receptive to our 2024 message: Trump is not cool. And now, if you don't mind, I have an important meeting with Sweet Baby Inc. to discuss the Democratic policy about the situation of DEI in video games. FDR possesses famed medium Matt Fraser for 5 minutes to give a message, full of expletives to today's Democratic Party. "It's the first time I have felt such an overwhelming force," declared the medium before transmitting the message allegedly received from the president who gave us the New Deal. "Pansies. Fuck asterisk tilde dollar hash asterisk plus snowflakes. You are worse than asterisk tilde dollar hash asterisk plus. Can't win an election against Donald Trump. You only win the fuck asterisk tilde dollar hash asterisk plus elections you can't lose despite your best efforts. Even though I left you a fuck asterisk tilde dollar hash asterisk plus playbook on how to win. Asterisk tilde dollar hash asterisk plus. Asterisk tilde dollar hash asterisk plus. You deserve to be bitten to death by your own mothers, motherfuck asterisk tilde dollar hash asterisk plus. What have you done to my party? That a feat Ken Martin worrying about Snow White when the nation is at the brink of a financial crisis, and that Schumer voting to give Trump powers over the budget like Orban's. Motherfuck asterisk tilde dollar hash asterisk plus s. Motherfuck asterisk tilde dollar hash asterisk plus s. Motherfuck asterisk tilde dollar hash asterisk plus s. Eat shit and die. As Doge defunds medical research at the NIH, new unconventional treatments are introduced by HHS. 1. Additional doses of vitamin A instead of vaccination. 2. Bringing back lead-to-water pipes to reduce levels of anxiety in children. This is based on the Stoic premise, what you can't understand won't hurt you. 3. Use of chamomile infusions against measles twice a day. 4. Ending the use of fluoride in the water supply to prevent low self-esteem. 5. Inserting worms in the brain through the ear, based on JFK Jr.'s personal testimony about its beneficial effects. The new treatment will improve children's cognitive abilities, which will make Head Start unnecessary, and prevent autism. Recommended starting with 7-year-olds. 6. Blending little birds and mice to feed your falcons. If the patients have other pets at home, these must be replaced by falcons. Recommended starting with 7-year-olds. 7. Prayer. Department of Education will cut Head Start as well as math and science courses from American schools' curricula. This has a triple purpose, according to Press Secretary. Press Secretary Leavitt announced the following new guidelines in education. A. Replace Head Start as well as math and science courses with religious education. This change will count on the collaboration of snake handler preachers, and its goal will be to prevent the frustration of parents of being unable to provide better lives to their offspring than the ones they received from their own parents. B. Teach practical skills to the new generation to prevent the frustration of realizing that from now on, we are going to lose the edge in science and live simpler lives as a result of the consequential fall in productivity that gave America the edge in the past. This goal will also try to solve the trauma and the levels of depression of our youngest generation every time they try to perform basic math operations. Why increasing their levels of anxiety among our youth? It's better to use the opportunity to teach them to cope with loss. Besides, religious education will give them hope that, after living vicariously the good life of elite workers on earth, one day they will be able to live it for real in heaven, added Education Secretary Linda McMahon. C. Solve the frustration inherited from the Biden administration about Answer A, which reveals that American kids are hopeless in math and science. Why keep trying when there is no way out? Better to accept that the times when we were good in math are behind us and focus on what matters: Jesus's tax cuts and the scapegoating immigrants to make them die for our sins. J. Shang-Chi Marvel sequel cancelled after it was revealed that Canadian actor Simu Liu didn't have points on his driver's license. Alexandria Ocasio-Cortez, on behalf of the squad, brought the nation's attention to this concerning finding. I have talked to Marvel, and they have assured me they were not aware of this violation of representation guidelines. All Asians have at least 3 points on their driver's licenses, and Mr. Liu has none. How is it possible that Marvel has let somebody who clearly doesn't represent the Asian community play a superhero character in their name? What I have been able to learn so far is that Marvel is going to make up for their mistake by replacing this actor with a morbidly obese black trans woman in a wheelchair. If so, I believe Marvel may be on a good path to recover the trust of the fans, declared the Congresswoman before updating us in her struggle against the joint forces of the oligarchy and the patriarchy. K. FBI investigating case of burglar who befriended victims' dogs, extending investigation for the relation it may have with the Commander case. After hurrying to arrest Wisconsin Judge Hannah Duggan, the FBI decided to extend the investigation of this case to the inquiries into the crimes committed by Commander, former President Biden's dog. The probe started after President Trump revoked the pardon granted to his dog by the former president for the bodies uncovered from shallow graves in the gardens of the White House. Former President Biden's attorney, who represents Commander, declared that the treatment given to the ex-president's pet was unfair, considering that similar graves have been uncovered in cases believed to be related to people missing after being invited to the White House by the president's sons, Don Jr. and Eric, in the period 2017 to 2020, and that, far from being investigated, Trump's sons have been promoted to co-chair the Federal Reserve.
This has been the news of this hour. Sponsored by Church of the Holy Redeemer's Power in the Spirit. Have you accepted Jesus Christ as your personal Savior? Did you vote for Trump in 2016 and then in 2020? This is the right church for you. If so, Church of the Holy Redeemer's Power in the Spirit is the only Christian church that can promise you in the Lord to have 72 virgins in heaven for only a donation of $50 a month. You will have access to those 72 virgins in heaven. For an additional $25, you will be allowed to replace 10 of them, and for $100, Heaven Premium, you will be allowed to choose them for yourself. Guaranteed, if you're not satisfied with those 72 virgins after you die, full refund of your money. We accept Visa, MasterCard, American Express, and Discover.